Hello, little ones. Today we are going to read Curious George and the Firefighters by Margaret and H.A. Rays. This is George. See the little monkey right there? He was a good little monkey and always very curious. Today, George and his friend, the man with the yellow hat, do you see the man with the yellow hat up here? Joined Mrs. Gray and her class on their field trip to the fire station. Ooh, how exciting is that? The fire chief was waiting for them right next to the big red fire truck. Do you see the big red fire truck? I see the big red fire truck. Welcome, he said, and he led everyone upstairs to begin their tour. There was a kitchen with a big table, and there were snacks for everyone. The fire chief told them all about being a firefighter. George tried hard to pay attention, but there were so many things for a little monkey to explore. Like that shiny silver pole in the corner. Look at George. He's looking over at the pole. Where did that pole go? George was curious. All right, everyone see the picture? Let's turn the page. Why? It went back downstairs. There was a great big fire truck. There was a map of the city. And there was a whole wall full of coats and hats and big black boots. Do you see the fire truck? Do you see the hats? Do you see the big black boots? And look at George sliding down that pole. Do you think that would be fun to do? I think it would be fun. All right, George had an idea. First, he stepped into a pair of boots. Next, he picked out a helmet. And finally, George put on a jacket. He was a firefighter. Suddenly, bring! Look at George. Does he look silly in that big jacket? And that was the bell that rang. What color is that bell? It's red like the fire truck. The firefighters all rushed in. This is not my helmet, said one. My boots are too big, said another. Hurry, hurry, called the fire chief. A big red light on the map of the city told him just where the fire was, and there was no time to waste. Look at them getting on their clothes. But George had messed up their things. They couldn't find their clothes that they were supposed to wear, the right ones. One by one, the firefighters jumped onto the fire truck. And so did George. Oh my, George is getting on the fire truck as well. The fire truck with all the firefighters sped out of the firehouse, and so did George. The sirens screamed and the lights flashed. Look at the fire truck. The truck turned right, then it turned left. Woo, 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 went the whistle, and George held on tight. You see George? He's holding on tight to that ladder. Oh my goodness, George, what is going on? And just like that, the fire truck and all the firefighters pulled up to a pizza parlor on Main Street. Smoke was coming out of the window in the back, and the crowd was gathering in the street. Thank goodness you're here, cried the cook. You see them? The people were gathering out front. You see the cook with the chef hat up front? The firefighters rushed off the truck and started unwinding their hoses. They knew just what to do, and George was ready to help. He climbed up the horse reel. You see George on the horse reel and the firefighters with their hose? Oh my goodness, what is George going to do? One of the firefighters saw George trying to help, and he took George by the arm and led him out of the way. A fire is no place for a monkey, he said to George. You stay here where it's safe. George felt terrible. You see George holding the firefighter's hand? And what color is that mother and daughter's bench they're sitting on? What color is that bench? It looks yellow to me. Does it look yellow to you? Yes, and I see some red on her dress and the bucket here. All right, so George sat on the bench and looked around. Next to him on the ground was a bucket full of balls. George reached in and took one out. It fit in his hands just right, like the apple he had for a snack. Uh-oh, George now found a bucket of balls. What is he going to do next? A little girl was watching George. He tried to give her the ball, but she was too frightened. George took another ball and another. Look, a boy said, the monkey is juggling. Oh my goodness, look at George. He is juggling the 3 balls. Wow, I can't juggle. Can you? The boy took a ball from the cage and tossed it to George, but it went too high. George climbed up onto the fire truck to get it. Uh-oh, George is back on that fire truck. Now George had 4 balls to juggle. He threw the balls higher and higher. He juggled with his hands. He juggled with his feet. He did all kinds of tricks. Oh my goodness, look at George up there juggling with his feet on top of the fire truck. Oh my. The boy threw another ball to George. George threw the ball back to the boy. The little girl reached down and picked up a ball too. Soon all the children were throwing and catching back and forth. Oh my, it looks like they are having a lot of fun. Do you like to throw and catch balls? I like to throw and catch balls. The fire chief came to tell everyone that the fire was out. Just then, a little girl laughed and said, "Look, Mommy, a fire monkey." "Hey," called the fire chief, "what are you doing up there?" "What a wonderful idea," the little girl's mother said to the fire chief, "bringing this brave little monkey to help the children when they're frightened." "Oh," said the fire chief. "Well, thank you." Before long, the fire truck was back at the firehouse where a familiar voice called, "George!" It was the man with the yellow hat. "This little monkey had quite an adventure," said one of the firefighters. "Is everyone all right?" asked Mrs. Gray. "Yes, it was just a small fire," said the fire chief. "And George was a big help." Now the field trip was coming to an end, but there was one more treat in store. All right, they had one more treat. Look at George on the back of the firefighter, coming back to the man with the yellow hat. There's Mrs. Gray and the other children. All of the children got to take a ride around the neighborhood on the shiny red fire truck. And they got And they each got their very own fire helmet, even George. And it was just the right size for the little brave monkey. All right, look at George and his fire hat, and all the children with their firefighter hats, helmets on. The end. I hope you enjoyed that book. I enjoyed reading it to you. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.